I'm going to eat a steak with tea, and I'm going to further talk about IEM Season 12 World Championship. That's a tournament that has a total payout of $412,000, and in the last video I already went through the main bracket. Now we're going to go through the other two brackets. The first bracket involves two players that ended up with a seed in the main bracket quarterfinals. And the third bracket is pretty much losers bracket, but it's just that these guys didn't manage to get into the main bracket. However, they were still competing for more money, because in this tournament many places got awarded, so actually moving through as much as possible was certainly a necessity. I'm going to show you what I have with me here. So that is the steak itself. It's a steak that has a cheese topping. I like it with cheese, and the vegetables. Furthermore, I'm going to drink Lipton tea with sugar. At the same time, I brought some water with me, and boiling water also. So let us begin. I'm going to talk about the bracket that is not a losing bracket. However, this bracket has provided two seeds into the main bracket quarterfinals. The main bracket was competing for the final, and this bracket that I'm going to talk about is pretty much a qualifying bracket. So this isn't a simple tournament. This is a lot more complicated tournament than most of them. It's time to cut the steak. The cheese adds really nice flavor on the steak. I like it a lot. And I think it makes the steak much more precious. Now it's time to make the tea. First things first, let's put the Lipton bag in the cup. So that is the original Lipton tea, and it's awesome. 2 spoons of sugar and hot water. That's it. The tea should soon be ready to drink. How long the bag should be kept in the cup, I'm not sure. It probably solely depends on the taste. Some may see it as a necessity to keep it there for long for a bitter taste. Others may just like to have this slight tea texture. In any case, it's a round of 16 for the first qualifying bracket. Well, it's the only qualifying bracket, with 2 winners coming out of this, so there's not going to be a final after this, and the ones that actually reach the quarterfinals, they have actually successfully went on to the quarterfinals, onto the main bracket. So first things first, it's a best of 3. The first match, TY versus Lipton. That is South Korea versus Denmark. TY is from South Korea and Lipton is from Denmark. They're both Terran players and TY won 2-0. Seoul versus Bly. That's Poland versus Ukraine. Seoul stands for Poland and Bly stands for Ukraine. That's Terran versus Zerg. Bly represents Zerg and Seoul represents Terran. The score is 2-0. Seoul has won over Bly. Probe versus Krr. That's Australia versus Lithuania. Probe is from Australia and Krr is from Lithuania. That's Protoss versus Protoss. Krr has won 2-0. Mamba versus Ri Young. That's Switzerland versus South Korea. Ri Young is from South Korea. Mamba is from Switzerland. That's Zerg versus Terran. Mamba is a Zerg and Ri Young is a Terran. The score is 2-0. Ri Young has won. Maru versus Jacko. Maru is from South Korea and Jacko is from Luxembourg. So that's South Korea versus Luxembourg. Terran versus Protoss. Jacko represents Protoss and Maru represents the Terran. The score is 2-0. Maru has prevailed. Puck versus Pittit Drogo, and that is USA versus France, and it's Protoss versus Protoss. 2-0. Pittit Drogo has won the game. Stefano versus DNS. That's France versus France. Stefano Zerg versus Protoss DNS. 2-1. DNS has won the game. Blue versus Stats. Blue Protoss versus Protoss Stats. 2-0. Stats have won. That's South Korea versus Poland. Stats is from South Korea and Blue is from Poland. Nearly all of these games, besides Stefano versus DNS, ended up 2-0. So that is certainly decisive victories. Now is the quarterfinal for the qualifying matches. So that's the quarterfinal for the final, but this isn't the brackets final. This is pretty much a quarterfinal for two players to decide a player that's not gonna go to a final, but a player that's just pretty much gonna qualify for the bracket, for the main bracket. It's best of 3, just as the round of 16. TY versus Seoul, South Korea versus Poland. That's Terran versus Terran. TY has won 2-0. Lithuania versus South Korea. KR or KRR versus Rai Jung. That's Protoss versus Terran. KRR, Protoss, Terran, Rai Jung. Rai Jung has won 2-1. Maru versus Pittit Drogo. That's South Korea versus France. Terran versus Protoss. Maru Terran versus pitted Drogo, Protoss. So Maru Terran versus Protoss pitted Drogo. And Maru, the Terran, has won 2-0. DNS versus Stats. That's France versus South Korea. That's Protoss versus Protoss. And Stats has successfully won this at a score of 2-0. Surprisingly enough, TY has qualified for the qualifying matches. He has played against the Terran at the round of 16, against the Terran in the quarterfinals, and he's gonna play against a Terran in qualifying matches. So that actually gives him a good chance of preparing himself. He, on the other hand, played against a Zerg in the main playoff brackets, and he lost. He lost against Rogue, who was the champion, at a score of 3-1. So he did successfully qualify in the end. TY for the qualifying matches was placed against Ryung, and he successfully won 2-0. That was South Korea versus South Korea, Terran versus Terran. He successfully qualified. Unfortunately for him, he did not manage to prevail in the playoffs to the final. Now it's tea time. Another qualifying match, best of 3. Maru versus Stats. That's another South Korea versus South Korea match. And Maru Terran versus Protoss Stats. Maru has won 2-1, and so he went on to the qualifying matches at the playoffs. During the qualifying matches, Maru was placed against Solar. That was South Korea versus South Korea. Zerg versus Terran. Solar represented Zerg and Maru represented Terran. The score ended 3-1. Maru has successfully and decisively won this. He moved on to the semifinals of the playoffs, and he faced Rogue. That was Zerg versus Terran. Rogue represented Zerg and Maru represented Terran. The result was 3-2. Rogue has prevailed over Maru. However, not surprisingly maybe, or surprisingly for others, Rogue has won decisively the final and the cup. So Maru has lost against the winner of the finals. And well, these kind of scenarios always leave a benefit of a doubt to a loser of the champion. It could be that in other circumstances the person or the team that lost against the finalist who won the final may be the one competing with the winner during the finals themselves, just if the circumstances would have been different and would have lost in the final itself. And this is one of those situations where a player was very successful, he moved very far, however unfortunately lost against the best player out of them all. And now we'll be going on to the losers bracket. So these guys are going to compete for more money. Losers round 1, best of 3. Puck versus Jacko. That's USA versus Luxembourg. Protoss versus Protoss. Puck has won this 2-0. Blue versus Stefano. That's Poland versus France. Protoss versus Zerg. Blue Protoss versus Zerg Stefano. Stefano wins 2-0. Bly versus Lilakanin. That's Ukraine versus Denmark. Zerg versus Terran. Bly, Zerg versus Terran, Lilakanin. Bly has won this 2-0. Mamba versus Probe. Switzerland versus Australia. Mamba, Zerg versus Protoss, Probe. Probe has won this 2-0. KRR has been added to play against Puck. KRR is Protoss and Puck is Protoss. So that's Protoss versus Protoss, Lithuania versus USA, KRR Lithuania, Puck USA, and KRR or Kar has won this match 2-0. The next match, Poland versus France. The Soul is from Poland and Stefano is from France. Soul plays Terran and Stefano plays Zerg. 2-0. Soul has won this. DNS versus Bly. That's France versus Ukraine. DNS has been added to play against Bly. 2-1. DNS has won. DNS has played Protoss while Bly has played Zerg, so that's Protoss versus Zerg. Petit Drogo versus Probe. It's France versus Australia. Petit Drogo has been added to play against Probe. 2-0. Petit Drogo has won against Probe, and it was Protoss versus Protoss. We are going to move on to losers round 3 now. As you may see in the near future, in the losers round 4, players are still being added. So even if a player wins losers round 3, that doesn't mean that they are going to play in the finals. They are just going to play against a player that has performed a little bit better in the past, and he's going to be automatically added to play. So KRR versus Soul, Lithuania versus Poland. The result ended up 2-1. Soul has won. And Soul has played Terran while KRR has played Protoss. DNS versus Petit Drogo. France versus France. Protoss versus Protoss. 2-1. DNS has won this. Losers round 4. Stats has been added to play against Soul in losers round 4. Soul has won against Stats 2-1. Poland won against South Korea. The Terran won against Protoss. Ryang versus DNS. Ryang has been added into the losers round 4 to play against DNS. That's South Korea versus France. DNS France, while Ryang represents South Korea. 2-1. Ryang has won this. Ryang played Terran while DNS played Protoss. Qualifying match. Soul versus Ryang. 2-0. Ryang has won. South Korea versus Poland has prevailed. And it was a match of Terran versus Terran. Obviously, quite awesome set of matches took place there. The tournaments for Starcraft 2 have been increasing consistently year over year. And it's quite old game. It was first released in 2010, and after that 3 expansions of the game took place, many patches of the game took place, and the game kind of consistently developed year over year. New patches were released and new expansions. However, currently this game is considered to be an electronic sport, e-sport. However, it's old. I do personally believe that it still has a lot of potential because people watch it, people play it, and people enjoy it very much. However, I myself expect Starcraft 3. Hopefully there's going to be Starcraft 3, and I like the setting of space science fiction. I think this game does have a lot of potential. And you left the game.